And welcome back to another installment of Cafe Lily with your hosts, Rosa and Kelsey. Kelsey and Rosa.
Hello, Rosa. It's good to be here today, especially considering that it seems like we have a customer.
Oh no, we get one of those?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this. What should we do?
What did we do last time?
Hi, do you like Yuri?
Yeah, I kind of like Yuri. A little bit.
Oh, thank God.
A little bit? Okay, that's just enough.
I have a bookshelf in my office, back at my place that is only for Yuri.
Oh, wow.
Ah.
I think we've stumbled across a Yuri expert. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Joy, otherwise known as my VTuber alias, Dollip. I'm here to talk about Yuri, toxic and otherwise.
That's all the categories.
Toxic, divorce.
I love toxic, I love divorce, I love cheater, pumpkin eater. It's all good.
That's a new one. We should put that on our list.
You want to read cheater, pumpkin eater?
Maybe. We might have to make plans for that.
Okay. It's called My Girlfriend's Not Here Today.
Oh.
Oh.
And it's just cheating. The entire thing is cheating. It's so bad. It's like trash, right? Like, it's not good for you. Like, it'll give you cavities. But also, it kind of rules, you know? Like, it's Toxic Yuri. It's Toxic Yuri. It's the same category.
Oh my god. I think I've seen this cover before for it.
Yeah. It's a very telling cover.
It is. I think I saw it while looking for, like, Toxic Yuri for an episode.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good, and by pretty good, I mean it's, like, hard to recommend to people. It's like...
Oh, yeah, I can see.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a tough read. And I love it.
Well, thank you for the recommendation. I'm putting that on the Yuri list for sure. But going back to the top of the Yuri list, there's something on here that all three of us have read.
What was the Yuri reread?
We have all read, at the very least, the first volume of Otherside Picnic.
I like that one.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, Rosa and I talked about this on the previous episode a little bit because, Joy, you recommended it to Rosa, I believe.
I did.
Yeah, while I was hunting Joy for sport, she told me, like, oh yeah, there's a really good Yuri called, Otherside Picnic.
I did get hunted for sport. I want to make that perfectly clear. That is not a joke, listeners. That is 100% for real. Hunted for sport in Mario 64.
Yeah, it's a good way of breaking the ice.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of good conversation about Yuri in that time. I do love telling people about Otherside Picnic. It also happens to coincide with me starting a new reread of Otherside Picnic. So I actually just finished book 1 recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, for the second time. I tend to, if I really like something, I will read it and then I will immediately read it again. Unfortunately, Otherside Picnic is so long that I have postponed my reread until now, but I just got back into it, and it's hitting. The last time I read it was, I think, a little over a year ago, and it quickly became my favorite alongside I'm in Love with the Villainess, which is my other favorite.
We talked about that here too.
I know, I love that one.
So what are your thoughts on going back to read it a second time? Did you notice anything that stuck out to you differently?
Yes, a lot, actually. It was interesting because there's a lot of reframing, I would say, that happens as the series goes on. You start to learn more about our unreliable narrator and details that she brings up in the first book maintain their relevance throughout the series. And also, you start to get more fleshed out renditions of events just based on conversations that they have. So like things like how they first met and their very early like time together, Sorowo and Toriko, the main characters. It's all like explored in a lot more detail, especially in the most recent volume, the 8th volume, which is my favorite. Happens to have a lot of like actually really interesting details about like book 1. So there's a lot of callback, there's a lot of good stuff. It's just it feels like a very refreshing reread, because it kind of feels like experiencing the beginning again. It just makes you appreciate how long they've been on the same like path. Like they started setting this up and now it's like continuing to build to something really like truly amazing.
Oh wow, it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to in the future volumes.
I do hype it up a lot. I think that sometimes with series like this that get really long, like you sometimes can get lost in the weeds a little bit, but I do think that like every single book of Otherside Picnic so far works really well standalone, which is cool. It's very cool how it's written, especially the most recent book. It just like, if it's such an arc, you know, like from start to finish. So it's very fun to read. I will say I haven't reread the series yet, but I did read the final book 3 times. I'm curious though, what did y'all think of your first foray into Otherside Picnic?
I'm very happy to say, great that I was able to read like a novel for once in my life. I was very into it, getting like just learning about Sorowa and like her antics, her isms, the way she talks, the way she like talks about Toriko's like, this annoying beautiful babe.
It makes me so happy because it's like, just based on Sorowa's perception and what Toriko says, like Toriko doesn't seem like she's like super fancy, super popular, super anything. She's just like, you know, she's just trying her best. She's had a tough go of it. But then you get Sorowa's perspective on her and it's just like, yeah, you're just perfect. You probably have a million friends and you're the hottest person I've ever seen in my life. Whatever.
That's just like an insane thing about Sorowa, because we do get a reveal later on that like Sorowa just had it really hard and did not perceive to it as like, yeah, there was something wrong with that. It's just like, no, that's normal. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's normal if your whole family joins a cult and then dies. That happens to everyone.
Literally, I think that's what she says. It's like, yeah, it's just a very common story. My entire family died from a gas leak after joining a murder cult. Like, okay. All right, girl.
Also, I think we should also establish that there will be spoilers for the first volume.
Yeah, but that's okay, because you should still read it, chat, because I just told you about volume 8, and you gotta get there.
They should have read it already after Rosa talked about it on the last episode. If they haven't done it yet, that's their fault.
Right,
That's right.
You're right.
That's so true. I think that there's an inherent hurdle in trying to get people to read a novel these days. A lot of people maybe are a little averse to it, and I've talked about this before in a few different places, but the light novels for Otherside Picnic really are like the best version of the story. And any other like medium, just it loses a bit of what makes the book so good.
A lot of detail in like the certain horror scenes that come about, like the way it describes it, the way it's like so surreal and abstract. It's like, how do you even like interpret that into like a manga or like in the anime? And you're also on top of like missing out on like Sora's inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is very important for her character, and like to understand how she works and how like nuts she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, being stuck in Sorowa's head was sort of the standout part of the novel for me, but also, Joy, hearing about your description of future volumes, I'm not surprised to hear that her point of view isn't strictly impartial.
Yeah. I think that's the best part is it's a horror novel, but also being like socially anxious and awkward and not knowing how to interface with other people is part of the horror. Like sometimes the horror is like a giant monster that makes you go insane if you look at it. And sometimes the horror is like talking to a girl. And it's great. It's fantastic. And those things overlap like crazy. And it's so interesting how like the things that kill you aren't the only horror. I do have a particular I want to call out the anime a little bit.
Oh.
There are good things about it and bad things about it, I will say. But they tried to make it like a little bit more palatable to people. So a lot of the horror monsters were replaced with what looks like I've described them as like Pokemon Ultra Beasts, like from like Gen like 6 or 7 or whatever. Like they are no longer scary, they are now like big Pokemon. Like, I don't know. It's super weird.
So in between Ultra Beast and like Shadow Side monsters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, watch Shadow Side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point of that?
Yeah, it's just a shame because like there's a lot of like references to like real life like legends and stuff. Like the stations at what you call it again?
Station February or Kisaragi Station.
Yes, that one. It was so crazy to read because I remember listening to that story a lot and just seeing it be mentioned here and become like a pivotal point in like the book. It's like nuts, and the way they like depict it, the way they like talk about like what's inside the train. It's like, oh my god, that's horrifying. I would be scared too if I was in like a train cart with like a gorilla that isn't Donkey Kong or Winston.
Yeah, if it were Donkey Kong or Winston killing people in a train car, I think I'd be okay with it. But
They're allowed to do that.
Yeah, they're allowed to do that. You know, Donkey Kong like throws barrels at people when he feels like it, and Winston's
got to protect the capture point, so
yeah.
if he's got to kill a bunch of people with a big pair of scissors, then like we gotta let him. We gotta let him. That's for the former agents of Overwatch coming together.
Yeah. Like you just imagine like Sora and Toriko hopping in. It's like, oh man, we're safe, and then mind if I step in?
Oh no, the crossover.
The crossover no one asked for, but they didn't know the need.
Exactly. But yeah, I really like how Otherside Picnic uses real like net lore, like creepypastas in Japan to fill its world. And that is something that stays consistent. And at the end of every book, in the acknowledgments, the author actually lists which real actual like creepypastas inspired the monsters that he uses.
Yes, I loved seeing that.
Yeah, so that's something that stays consistent, and I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. I went crazy when they first like introduced Kosakura because like she's drinking warm cola out of a Moomin cup, and it's like, oh my god, this is I gotta hint at this to Kelsey. Like, oh Kelsey, there's something really cool in the book. And when Kelsey got to it, was like,
Rose is trying to trick me into reading Yuri by telling me that my favorite characters from classics are in there, as if I wouldn't be interested in the actual Yuri.
No, I knew you were gonna read it. I'm just giving you extra motivation. I'm very impressed you read it in 2 days. It took me like a week or two, or 3 weeks.
Oh, that makes me so happy. You read it in 2 days?
When Kelsey gets absorbed into something.
That's delightful.
Yeah, that's just Kelsey. They can read. God, seeing Kosakura is like, oh my god, what is her problem?
So much. It's awesome.
I felt sorry for her in the 5th chapter.
Yeah, it's rough. life is hard when you're just a damn little thing walking around with a shotgun.
Yeah, she's like a damn little thing. It's really funny how
Mhm.
Sorrow described her as like, is she a child? Because she lost a lot of childlike wonder in her eyes. Yeah, the way they like draw her is like a little tropey, but like I feel like if you change your design a bit, it could be like really funny. And like, oh my god, that is like the hilarious.
When I first saw Kozukura, I literally sent the screenshot of like her sitting at the desk to the friend of mine that recommended Otherside Picnic, and I was like, is this gonna get weird? And she was like, actually, legitimately, no, it's not. And I read the whole series, and I gotta be honest, it doesn't get weird. Kozukura is just a good character, and they don't get weird about it.
I like how she's in some depiction. She's kind of shown wearing Crocs.
Yeah, she's a croc warrior. I want to say something. I want to say something about Kozukura so bad. I wouldn't call it a spoiler. It's just like a funny detail that you find out later. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, go for it.
She is a full-time VTuber. That is her job.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yo.
Oh my, that explains it. No wonder she has like a mysterious amount of money.
There are other reasons for her like money, but she also like her job is like she's a VTuber.
Oh my god, that makes so much sense.
They do give some details about her like VTuber model and stuff. I will let y'all get to that on your own time though, because it's a really good chapter. I think it's like a bonus chapter or like an epilogue.
God, she really does have a lot of problems, huh?
Yeah, all VTubers do.
Think it's really funny when they like, when Sora goes into detail, like, so Sakura just brought out like a big ass shotgun that's like bigger than her. It's so funny, just like imagining her holding one. It's like, why do you have it? It's like, because Sasuke said that I could shoot without knowing how to aim. Also, Satsuki, oh, the more I learn about her, the more scared of her I am.
Yeah, understandable. She's a scary gal.
Oh god, that chapter was really scary to read. Like, it's late at night, you don't know how they got there. Kasakura is like in pain. It's like, oh my god, what do we do? It's like, I know, I'll turn you into a plant.
Rightfully upset, I think. That
Right.
Kozukura was
No, of course.
very right to be mad about that. I do love how much they build Sorowo and Toriko's relationship just through that one chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this stage, it's like they're friends, but they're also strangers, and they're kind of in this middle ground, and yet there's still so much to explore about like how they feel about each other, even now in like the earliest rendition of their relationship. It's honestly, God, it's such a good book.
Yeah, and to see that like they're actually kinder souls, they're similar in many ways than like Soro's realized.
Yeah. Soro has a lot of ideas about who Toriko is as a person, but I don't think they're very accurate. They're very like reductive.
And she just doesn't have like a good view of the world. It's because she went on Twitter.
Yeah. There's like a quote very early on in the book that's like, you sound like one of those people who's like trying to pick fights on Twitter.
That's like, how could someone recover from that?
I literally, if somebody said that to me, I would never leave my apartment for as long as I live.
I was really tickled by a scene in Chapter 5 of Volume 1 where Sora was thinking about how amazing Toriko is. She's like, oh, she's incredible. She can do anything. She's so beautiful. All of that. And then at some point she says, oh, I'm not fearless. I'm just desperate. And I was thinking, yeah, she's desperate for something.
Yeah, right? It's always very like fun to see how like the difference between Sorowo being brave and Sorowo being terrified is whether or not Toriko is with her,
Yes.
which is it's so juicy because it's something that's so obvious to the like audience, and yet she is going to just be oblivious about it, like willfully.
And we understand as Yuri connoisseurs, but Swaro needs to come to that conclusion on her own.
Yes.
Yeah, she needs to come to that conclusion, you know, as stupid as she may be.
She's got work to do.
Yeah. I can't wait to read about the next volume because it seems like they're going to the beach, so I can't wait to hear what Soro's thinking.
Yeah, horror romance beach episode. So just try to imagine what that's like.
Awesome.
I'm glad they get to do that, because for a series called Otherside Picnic, there have been a distinct lack of picnics in Volume 1.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend people to read it. It's such a good read. I can't wait to read more. I can't wait to see how insane it gets. I can't wait to read how much problems they have, what's wrong with Kasakura, what's even more wrong with Sora. So, there's another thing I want to talk about.
Yes, you two watched a certain anime, didn't you? Can you two please pitch it to me as someone who knows nothing about Bandori?
So you know idol animes?
Vaguely.
This is like kind of like that, but except with like rock bands.
Okay.
Now imagine a season that's actually good.
Okay.
So I played Bandori a little bit when I was in college. It was like brand new to like they had just released the global like American version. And I only played it for a little while, and I have to admit I wasn't a fan of it at all. It is kind of Yuri, as in like it's very like you know, like the sort of like cute girls doing cute things style of series, where it's just a bunch of moe anime girls like making goo goo eyes at each other. And there's technically a story, but every band's story is basically just like, oh, we're gonna form a band. Oh, one of us lost confidence. Oh, we're all coming together to do a big rock show, and now we're all best friends. I felt very like, I don't know, a little bored, a little annoyed, and I think I uninstalled after a few months. I have a friend named Shar who shares my passion for Yuri, toxic and otherwise. And she messages me and says, "You need to watch the new Bandori season." And I said, "No." And she was like, no, I know, but trust me, it's toxic Yuri." And I was like, no way is it toxic Yuri, because that series was allergic to having like actual conflict in it. That was the reason I didn't like it, is because it was so generic, cookie cutter, like nothing ever like happened in it. Oh my god, MyGO is like, from episode 1, you immediately get this vibe of like, oh no, like these girls should not be allowed within 50 feet of each other ever.
What?
Yeah, it starts with a band breaking up. One of these middle school like girl rock bands that Bandori is chock full of. They break up. They have a massive fight. It gets physical, and this band breakup is the catalyst for like so many horrible things that happen throughout the series. And you sort of start with this one character's perspective where she is coming into the school year like halfway, and she stumbles into this band that broke up and accidentally gets its members back together and doesn't realize that she's like created a volatile minefield. And that is like the premise. And I hope that I've sold you on it a little bit. It is very messy, it's very dramatic, and it is my favorite show almost, I think, ever. Like, it's so good. Now, obviously, I want to discuss MyGo, very much so. But I would also, this will probably be my only mention of it. There is a second season of MyGo currently airing, called Ave Mujika, and it is halfway through its run as of our recording. And like, if MyGo is like a drama show, Ave Mujika is like a psychological horror cage match so far. It's awesome. It's so rough. It's so rough, and I love it. And I am terrified to see how this series is going to end. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you get into MyGo because of this podcast, just know that there's even crazier stuff ahead, and it's really good.
I can't wait, because when watching MyGo was a crazy experience. Like, we get Anon. They call her Anon. Pink hair, everything. She's like, oh, everyone's in a band. I should be in a band too. That way I look cool.
And she doesn't know how to play guitar.
Right. She owns a guitar. It was dusty. She barely knew how to play it. She's like, oh, I'm really good at it. I gotta be the lead. And then, like, she tries to recruit, like, Tamori at first, who's, like, looking at rocks.
The rock collector.
Yes, Rosa told me all about the rock character.
Yeah.
She rocks.
You mentioned that, like, you feel it's, like, you know, like an autistic character.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, oh, yeah, of course.
I think that it's one of the most, like, honest and, like, non-infantilizing, like, representations of an autistic person that I have ever seen in a piece of media, because she is she's very, very independent, and she has, like, a very, very incredible character arc, and it's all, like, especially in no spoilers, but episode 3 is all from her perspective, all first person, and you get to learn so much about how she sees the world. And it's, I would say, like, pretty blatant. They don't ever, like, use the word autism in the series, and I wouldn't expect them to, really. But it is, like, very clear that, like, that is, like, the story they're trying to tell is this autistic girl trying to find her place in the world through the music that she writes with her friends. And all of them should be way nicer to her. I'm putting my hands on my hips. All of them need to be so much nicer to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good at exploring what it sets out to explore, I'll say.
And, like, these different characters' dynamics. Soyo is really interesting, because throughout the series...
My fave!
Right, she's great.
That's my fave.
Like,
That's my fave right there.
Right? Like, she has 500 issues and causes a lot of problems, but she's great.
She's allowed.
God.
She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah, she's allowed.
She's never done anything wrong ever in her life, in my opinion. Except for all the stuff she did wrong, of course.
Of course. There was just this scene where she's, like, talking to, like, one of the older Cryek members, and, like, it kind of gives off the vibe of, like, the image of, like, the guy grabbing his friend violently, gripping on the shoulders violently.
Yeah. Literally, yeah.
Smiling. Yeah.
Oh, it's
like,
so good.
Soyo, her demeanor is so funny, because it's like, it starts the way it starts and the way it changes is so wonderful. It's like, oh my god, she wasn't like that at all. She's like this.
So, something that's very exciting to me is they are currently putting out a manga series which only has 2 chapters right now, but they are good chapters. And it is the events of MyGO, all from Soyo's perspective.
Oh my god, that's scary.
And you get a lot of her internal monologue and stuff. And it's pretty juicy. It's pretty juicy. I also want to give some special shout out to Rana.
Yes.
Who has not been mentioned thus far, but she is kind of the glue while also not being the glue. It's hard to describe.
She's the emotional support cat.
She is. And she causes so many problems, but it's like, but you can't be mad at her because she's just this silly little thing that wanders around. And also, much like Sorrow is rocking that heterochromia.
They call her a stray cat, and she's definitely like one. They have to like do whatever they can. Like, Rana, we got matcha. We got matcha.
We got
It's
matcha.
Like,
Come get
that's like her
matcha.
catnip.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, here's candy. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I like interesting women.
She is the silly goose in a sea of characters who are so like serious and self-absorbed in their own problems, and she is just a silly fucking goose. Sorry, am I allowed to say that on this podcast?
No, Kelsey hates cursing.
That's not true.
Oh no! I'll never say fuck again! Oh no, I just said it!
Oh, fuck.
I know. It's crazy.
I'm so curious about this show right now. I'm sitting here listening to you two, and I'm thinking, this cannot possibly be as good as you're describing it. And then you say something, and I'm just like, what?
I'll watch it with you if you want. I'm not even kidding. I'll do it anytime.
I guess I have to watch it now.
Yay!
Gotta watch it.
We
You
did
gotta
it.
watch
We
it.
did
We're gonna
it.
check on you every day.
We got another
You
one.
gotta watch it, Kelsey. You gotta watch it. I'll be checking on you every day.
Every day.
That second season is crazy. That second season, I have no idea where they could possibly be going. But the way that they've talked about, like, okay, so just for a little bit of context, there was a watch through that the team did when the series was completed, and right before it aired, they had like a premiere where the entire cast and crew got together and they watched through the entire series. And they watched 6 episodes and then had like a half-hour intermission to like get up and stretch and like socialize and stuff. And nobody talked to each other at all during the socialization, like intermission, whatever you want to do phase. People like got up. Nobody was talking. It was dead silent. Episode 6 just came out a couple days ago at the time of recording. I can see why. After that episode finishes, everybody just standing in a room silently, like thinking about what they just watched. It's perfect. It's so good.
Oh my god.
This is so scary.
It's scary. It's a little scary. I will say it's a little scary. It's great though. Yuri, I think, is sometimes at its best when it's kind of scary. Sometimes Yuri should be a little bit or a lot of bit scary.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes Yuri should be a little scary.
Yeah, something we gotta make like the most craziest Yuri ever. You know?
And I'm here for it.
Making the best craziest Yuri and scary, yeah, you know. Imagine someone out there like made like a scary Yuri. I wonder who else. I don't know.
This podcast is not sponsored by Petal and Leaf.
Yeah, this is not sponsored as Petal and Leaf. Read It Girl on Petal and Leaf. The latest 3 pages just came out.
Wow.
Look forward to next month with the rest more come out.
That sounds like Yuri.
Anyway, Kelsey, you also read another thing that was driving you crazy.
Yes. Okay. I think it was back on the first Love Bullet episode. I complained that I wanted to read a crime and mystery novel with a sapphic protagonist. But I just don't know any of those. What am I going to do? But I have found the book that I was looking for.
Ooh.
Oh, no way. What is this? What is this, like, mythical book you speak of?
Devil's Breath by Jill Johnson is a mystery book with a sapphic protagonist. Not only is she sapphic, she is a masked lesbian.
Ooh.
Not only that, she is a professor of botanical toxicology. And anyone who knows me will understand how much that spoke to me when I first saw it. And the absolute icing on the cake is she's a little bit of a specimen.
I heard.
I'm so intrigued right now. I'm like, I was literally just trying to look it up.
The protagonist of this book and this series, because there are multiple books now, Professor Eustacia Rose. She is very unpleasant.
Sold.
She is deeply misanthropic. She genuinely hates social interaction, but part of the appeal to me is that from the outside, she seems like she has everything together, but once you sort of peel back the outer shell, you realize that's not the case at all. Another character who knows her from her past at one point calls her unstable, and Professor Rose really objects to that, but it really paints a picture about how other people see her. Yeah, I had a great time reading Devil's Breath, and then I read the sequel, Hell's Bells, as well.
I'm sold at misanthropic lesbian. Like that's what I'm here for.
God.
But yeah, it's a mystery, it's a murder mystery. I don't know, should I give a little synopsis of the first book, I guess?
Sure. Yeah, I'm interested. I'd love to learn more.
Sure, okay. So, the story of Devil's Breath is Professor Eustacia Rose. She was let go from her job as a university professor, and she now spends all of her time tending to her illegal collection of poisonous plants that she keeps on her rooftop garden.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't keep a bunch of illegal poisonous plants on their roof?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, one day she's out there taking care of her plants on her rooftop garden, and she hears some commotion coming from the building across the street, and she starts to worry that maybe one of the residents there is in a bad domestic situation, so she starts spying on her and taking note of all the men who come and go from this neighbor's apartment. And eventually one day she makes a connection with the neighbor, meets her out in the world. Turns out she's called Simone, and they start talking. Professor Rose mentions her poisonous plant collection, and Simone says, "Oh my god, can I please come over and see it? That sounds amazing."
Oh.
And Professor Rose is like, "No, absolutely not. I take care of the garden alone because I don't want to risk anyone else's safety." But Simone really wants to see it, and I think Professor Rose kind of wants to impress her, so decides to invite her over and gives her a little tour of the garden. Simone leaves. It's all very normal.
Until
Later on, Professor Rose is looking out the window, and she sees Simone being forced into a car and driven away. She's just witnessed Simone being abducted.
That's not good.
Yeah, she's concerned about it, so she goes out to investigate, and she tries to find out what happened. But when she comes home, she finds that her poisonous plant garden has been ransacked.
oh no.
So she immediately makes the connection. Oh no, someone has used Simone to get to this poisonous plant garden.
Oh.
And then to make things even worse, the police then show up at Professor Rose's door. Someone has been murdered using one of the stolen plants from her garden as the murder weapon. And that's sort of the hook for the murder mystery plot.
Oh my god.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's just, I didn't immediately understand the appeal. Like, I wasn't that interested in all the men that were coming and going from Simone's apartment, to be quite honest. But as it went on, as things, I suppose as the plot started to thicken, I was like, oh, yeah, I get this now. And also, I just really love Professor Rose as a character.
You also said she's like doesn't know how to use a phone or something?
Yeah, she has very little knowledge of sort of modern day things. She's only 44 years old in the first book, but she does not have a mobile phone. she doesn't know what social media is.
And yet she's misanthropic. Impressive.
Yeah, you would think that not having social media just like makes you well adjusted.
No, it just leads you to a different path.
Yeah.
That sounds very gripping. I definitely gotta give this a read. Finally, a book I can read.
Same.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it to anyone who thinks that they can tolerate spending a 300 and something page book in this character's point of view. If you think that's just not for you, then I understand that, but I loved it.
Yeah, we know you love disasters.
I do. She's a bit of a disaster.
That's the best. I love that. No, that's literally the best kind of protag.
Yeah. Honestly.
There's a really funny part that I told Rose about quite vaguely, where Professor Rose is not doing well after everything that's gone on. Like, she's witnessed this person being abducted. Her garden that she spent 20 years on has been destroyed. She's not doing well, so she gets high on her own supply of hallucinogenic plants.
Let's go.
Let's go. Same.
And then she's trying to get something out of the kitchen, and she falls off the chair she's standing on and smacks her face on the counter and gives herself a black eye.
Awesome.
She's just going around with that for the rest of the book, and people are like, oh my god, did you get attacked? Is this related to the people who were trying to get to your garden? Like, did they come after you? And she has to be like, no, this is something else.
She is a fool.
Yes, I support Butcher's rights, but I have a scientific interest in Butcher's wrongs, so...
Let's go.
But yes, shoutouts to Professor Eustacia Rose, the Professor Eustacia Rose mystery series. The third book is apparently coming out in May,
Ooh.
and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think I am too now. I gotta read this.
Same here. I gotta read it too.
Yeah, you two definitely let me know if you read it and what you think of it.
Yes.
You'll know when I send you like a voice memo. I'll be like, what is her fucking problem? Like every other character.
We love characters with problems here.
Yeah.
That's true. That's like all we've talked about today.
Yeah, you know, a lot of characters have problems. Highlights to Soya, Sarawa.
Kozukura.
Oh, of course, Kosakura. We can't forget about Kosakura and like microwave Coke.
Microwave Coke. That's a problem in and of itself.
So it sounds like we got our thoughts out there about like amazing Yuris we experience.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us today, Joy.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
It's always good to make connections with other Yuri fans.
Yeah, either through hunting for sport or, you know, just like randomly mentioning Yuri in the chat.
It's all peak. It's all peak and it's all Yuri.
Actually, I want to mention a funny coincidence that happened the other day. When I first got to the chapter where like Kasakura pulls out her shotgun for the first time, on that same night, I got recommended one of your streams, and that was when you drew like Kasakura on like one of the cards.
Oh, the Otherside picnic ball outro cards, yeah.
What?
I'm making Yuri Balatro cards as a mod.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, so I have a set done for I'm in Love with the Villainess, and I was in the middle of Otherside picnic when my stream ended because I had some other obligations. But so one suite is ILTV, one suite is swoos. One swoos is ILTV, one swoos is Otherside picnic. And then I'm gonna do MyGo, and then the last one I think is gonna be Review Starlight.
Oh my god, that's something on my list.
I love Review Starlight.
Please send me the link to those cards when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be on Nexus Mods. So
Now you got Kelsey intrigued. Kelsey loves Balatro. That's like the only game they ever play.
hell yeah. Hey, me too.
Yeah, guilty. I'm not a gamer, but I do indulge in some Balatro.
Unfortunately, I am a gamer, but also all I care about is Balatro right now.
So, I guess that's the end of Cafe Loli. Is there anything you want to promote, Joy?
Yeah, read I'm in Love with the Villainess. read Otherside Picnic, watch MyGO. That's my big three. That's what I'd like to promote.
I also want to remind everyone, as of yesterday, I just released 3 more pages of It Girl, the horror Yuri inspired by Mike Melissa.
Yes, we are not sponsored, but please go to pedalandleaf.neocities.org.
Please, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to the insane part. I promise you, I'll make sure it's insane. That's all for now. See you all next Yuri.
See you next Yuri.
See you next Yuri.